Welcome to the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. This episode is brought to you by Authors Unite. Authors Unite makes the process of becoming a published best-selling author as simple as sipping your morning cup of coffee. You can learn more about Authors Unite at authorsunite.com. Now, let's jump into the episode. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. Today, I have Sindu Sreebhavan. She is the best-selling author of Infinite Possibilities and the lead author of the Amazon #1 bestseller, Breakthrough. She is the CEO of As Many Minds and founder of International Youth Leadership and Innovation Forum. She helps corporations, educational institutions, and people to unlock their potential with the power of growth mindset and design thinking through speaking, coaching, and consulting. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tyler.
Of course.
It's wonderful to be here.
Yes, and it's wonderful to have you here. I know you're in Singapore. I'm over in Miami, so we're 12 hours apart. We're still making this happen. So we'll dive right into the first one. The first question I have for you is, what is the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
There are many stories. To talk about one story, before I became an entrepreneur, I was into consulting. I was doing international consulting. I have lived in 7 countries. I have studied in 3 different countries. So the most important, while I was working, I had several ideas. I felt that what I studied didn't really matter. Where I studied didn't really matter. What mattered was, in my words, is 4 C's. And those C's are creativity, communication, collaboration, and confidence. And I was thinking that what if children learn that when they are young itself? Because this is from my studies, I realized that it's a 4 C's that help people to develop their career and develop their life. But I was thinking that I'm not the person to do that. To be frank, I never felt that I was the person, because I was thinking that I'm in the consulting industry, I'm doing this and that, and I'm someone else. I was waiting for someone else to solve the problem that I had found. And it took 4 years for me to realize that, or ask myself, why don't I do it? So, but even when I started thinking about it, I thought I was not qualified enough. I thought I have no experience in the children's education industry. I thought I have no experience in other related industries that I was planning. I had ideas, and I wanted to establish a magazine for children. I wanted to establish forums for children. I wanted to have provide professional development for teachers so that they will be future ready. So it took 4 years for me to do that, come up with that conclusion that probably it's me who should do that. So I believe a lot of us or all of us have many ideas in our lives, and most of us don't realize that we do have the power to take on that idea or on that problem, come up with ideas to solve that problem and to provide something valuable to the world. So since I did, though I took it 4 years late, I'm happy that I took that initiative, and I took up the courage to do something that I had 0 years of experience in, which happened to be good.
And what is the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
People talk about fourth industrial revolution that we are on the verge of. People talk about technology, disruption, artificial intelligence, and so on. I believe the most important skill that we need is the mindset, is the ability to have the growth mindset or mindset as a whole, because the future is for people who are able to change with time, change very fast. Basically, people have to go to a new place, adapt to themselves, learn themselves fast, and deliver, and then move to the next gig that they will be on to. And in order to help them, or in order to help ourselves to be able to sustain in that world, we should have developed that mindset. So recently, last week, 2 weeks ago, we had the International Youth Leadership and Innovation Forum in Singapore. It was an annual forum. So we had this question that was thrown to everyone in the audience, and the audience consisted of parents, teachers, students, industry experts, and thought leaders. The question was, what's the most valuable skill that you think is needed for the future? So the first three answers for that was public speaking, mindset, and creativity. And mind you, the theme for the forum was education disruption in the field, in the world of artificial intelligence. So everything boils down to the fact that in order for us to be innovative, in order for us to sustain in that world of disruption, we need to build up our mindset, and that's what we should be focusing on.
And what's your best piece of overall business advice? So not necessarily industry specific.
I have this 3P formula for anyone who wants to do any business or take any initiative. The most important is the purpose. So how do you find the purpose? A lot of people talk about purpose. So where does the purpose come from? And most people say that they don't know what their purpose is. So I believe the best way to find what our purpose is to find problems around us. As I mentioned earlier about the problem that I found. So we have to keep interest in our thoughts, our ideas, and the problems that we come across, and also the problems that other people face. When we are able to find a problem that needs a real solution, that's where we find ideas. And I call that is our eureka moment. Our eureka moment is not at all about finding the solution. It's about finding problems. And when we find problems, we feel very close to, very passionate about certain problems, or passionate about solving certain problems. And that's where we find the purpose. And if we can tune our mind and tune our offering, tune our products to solve that problem with the purpose that we find, that's when that's where businesses thrive. That's where initiatives thrive. That's when we become change makers or entrepreneurs. So my recommendation to everyone is try to find problems and try to find your purpose from those problems, and create your products and services based on those 2 P's. And yeah, that's my recommendation.
Yes. And if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
I have many pieces of advice for my younger self. So number one is that perfection is a myth, and never shy away from anything because you are trying to find that perfection. Second is speak up your ideas and views, dream big. What more than perfection, what we need is our dreams, our commitment, and our conviction, and finally the courage that leads you to take action on those ideas. So perfection, scratch the word perfection and change it to action.
And in your opinion, what is the key to happiness?
I feel contentment is the best word compared to happiness. And for contentment, it's a contentment that leads to happiness. And in order for us to feel that contentment, it's essential to appreciate what we do. Usually people are searching for improvement. People search for, we are more good at self-criticizing than self-appreciating. So when we do everything, every single task, whether it's a failure or a success, it's important to appreciate the good things that we did, the changes that we made in our lives as well as in the lives of other people, because it's that's when we realize that we are resourceful. We were able to do something irrespective of the results, and that's when we also realize the process that we went through, because it's the processes that lead to better processes and better results. So the best way to be happy is to be contented, and the best way to be contented is to appreciate ourselves for every single action and task that we do.
And what is the best book that you've read, and what was the number one thing you learned from that?
Well, the best book would be Dale Carnegie's book, How to Make Friends and Influence People. And what I learned from that is it's never a lot of things we do, whether it's about writing a book or becoming an entrepreneur or becoming a change maker. Most of the time we are so focused on ourselves, but we have to shift the focus from ourselves to other people and their problems and what we could do for them. Give importance to the other person and think about every situation from that person's perspective. That in fact leads us to provide better solution, better offerings to others as well. And at the same time, it will also help us to understand ourselves better, which is important. That self-realization, self-awareness is essential for us to progress in any area, in any level, in any field in our lives.
And what is your favorite quote and why?
Favorite quote? I came up with my own quote. My quote is that innovation doesn't start with an invention. It starts with a mindset. So it again goes back to the whole thing about mindset. I have consulted several organizations, educational institutions, and so on, helping them to come up with innovative practices, innovative solutions to their pressing problems. And I have also consulted organizations that have lots of money and who had huge budget for their innovation initiatives, but not all of them succeed. The reason is that unless you create a culture where people feel empowered to contribute themselves, and that empowerment comes when people are able to align their personal aspirations to the organization's aspiration. And that happens only if we are able to cultivate that mindset. So an innovation doesn't start with an invention. It starts with a mindset, and it's a mindset that leads to continuous improvement, innovation, as well as the ability to try, ability to work hard, find strategies, and finally come up with an innovation or an invention and create that innovative culture. So mindset is the first thing that leads to everything else.
Thank you so much for coming on. The last one I have for you before we let you go is, where's the best place for people to find you online?
Well, it would be LinkedIn. That will lead you to everywhere else. And so my LinkedIn ID is linkedin.com/IN, and then followed by S for Sindu, and Sreebhavan, which is my last name, S Sreebhavan. That's where you can find me.
Perfect. Thank you again for coming on.
Thank you so much, Tyler. It's wonderful to be here on your show.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.